The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with worried voices. Representatives from dozens of species sat in their floating chairs, all talking at once. The holographic display in the center showed a terrible sight. 3 massive fleets locked in deadly battle near the Kepler Nebula. Ambassador Thekvar of the Nexari Federation tapped his crystal hand on the table. "The war has gone on too long," he said, his voice ringing like broken glass. 17 star systems destroyed. Billions dead. Across the hall, the insectoid delegate from the Keth swarm clicked her mandibles. "My people fight only to survive. The Vorthak started this war with their attacks on our breeding worlds." The Vorthak representative, a large reptilian creature with scarred green scales, hissed in anger. "Lies. The Keth invaded our mining colonies first. We only defended ourselves." The argument continued as it had for months. Each species blamed the others. Each claimed they were the victims. Meanwhile, the war in space grew worse every day. Far from the council chambers, in a quiet observation post hidden in an asteroid field, Captain Lee Daeho watched the same battle through different eyes. His human face showed no emotion as ships exploded on his screen. He had been watching this war for 2 years, taking notes, learning. "Captain," said Dr. Kim Minho from his science station, "the Vorthak are using their new plasma cannons again. That makes the 4th time this week." Lee Daeho nodded. "Mark it down. Range, power output, charging time, everything." The bridge of their small ship was dark and quiet. Only 5 crew members worked there, but their equipment was far more advanced than anything the fighting aliens possessed. They recorded every weapon fired, every ship movement, every tactical decision. "Sir," called Lieutenant Nam Hyejin from communications, "Admiral Park wants to speak with you." The main screen changed to show Admiral Park So-young sitting in her office on Luna Base. Behind her, Earth's moon glowed softly through the window. "Status report, Captain." "The 3 fleets are evenly matched," Lee Daeho replied. "The Vorthak have better weapons, but the Nexari have stronger shields. The Keth make up for weaker technology with superior numbers. None of them can win a clear victory." Admiral Park studied the data scrolling across her screen. "And they still don't know we're here?" "No, Admiral. Our stealth systems are working perfectly. To their sensors, we're just another asteroid." "Good. Continue monitoring. Command wants complete tactical profiles on all 3 species before we make any decisions." The connection ended, leaving the bridge in comfortable silence again. Lee Daeho turned back to the battle display. A Nexari cruiser had just destroyed a Keth destroyer with a focused crystal beam. The beam cut through the insect ship's hull like it was made of paper. Dr. Kim Minho shook his head. "Primitive," he muttered. "They're still using direct energy weapons. No gravitic manipulation, no quantum disruption fields. Remember," Lee Daeho said quietly, "they think these are advanced weapons. To them, this is high technology." On the council station, the arguing continued. The 3 species had been fighting for so long that none of them remembered what started the war. Trade disputes, border conflicts, old insults, it all mixed together into endless hatred. "We need outside help," announced Councillor Reltari, an elderly being from a neutral species. "Someone must stop this war before it spreads to other sectors." "Who?" asked the Nexari ambassador. "Every species with enough military power is already choosing sides or staying away completely." "What about the humans?" suggested a small delegate from the back. "They have ships, don't they?" Laughter filled the hall. Even in the middle of their serious discussion, the idea of humans helping seemed funny to most aliens. "The humans?" The Vorthak representative hissed with amusement. "They barely have enough ships to patrol their own system. They've never even fought a real war." "I heard they still use chemical rockets for some of their ships," added the Keth delegate, clicking her mandibles in what passed for laughter among her kind. The small delegate who had suggested humans looked embarrassed. "I just thought they seem peaceful. Maybe they could help negotiate." "Peace," scoffed Ambassador Thekvar. "Peace comes only through strength. The humans have no strength to offer." Unknown to the council, their conversation was being recorded by hidden sensors placed there months ago. Every word reached human intelligence analysts within minutes. In a secure facility deep under Earth's surface, dozens of analysts studied every piece of information about the 3 warring species. General Kang Yunji reviewed the latest reports in her underground office. Charts covered the walls showing ship designs, weapon capabilities, and population centers of all 3 alien civilizations. Her staff had been working for years to understand every aspect of their potential enemies. Ma'am, called one of her aides, we have new intelligence on Vorthak fleet movements. They're concentrating forces near the Tau sector. Tau sector? General Kang frowned. That's only 3 jumps from our outer colonies. She activated her secure communicator. Admiral Park, we may have a problem. Admiral Park appeared on the screen immediately. I'm listening. The Vorthak are moving ships closer to human space. Our analysts think they might be planning to expand the war. Any sign they know about our real capabilities? None. They still think we're a minor species with primitive technology. Admiral Park was quiet for a moment. Continue monitoring. If they make any move toward our colonies, we'll have to reconsider our position. Back in the Kepler Nebula, the 3-way battle raged on. Ships from all 3 species fought desperately, each believing their survival depended on victory. None of them noticed the small asteroid that had been watching them for months. None of them suspected that every move they made was being recorded and analyzed by a species they considered weak and unimportant. Captain Lee Daeho made one final note in his log before ending his shift. Day 847 of observation. Enemy forces continued to display tactical patterns consistent with previous engagements. No significant technological advances detected. Recommend continued monitoring. He didn't know that within days everything would change. The Watchers would be forced to become participants, and the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity's real strength. The war continued in space, beautiful and terrible. Ships died in flashes of light while their crews never suspected they were being judged by eyes that had been watching, learning, and preparing for the day when patience would end and action would begin. War leader Gorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the holographic display that showed his empire's losses. 3 months of fighting had cost him over 200 ships and thousands of soldiers. The Nexari crystals cut through his hulls too easily, and the Keth swarmed his formations like angry insects. War leader, called his science officer, the new weapon is ready for testing. Gorthak's reptilian eyes brightened. The planet killer had taken years to build and use technology stolen from a dozen different species. If it worked, he could end this war quickly and completely. We need a target, he hissed. Something worthless that won't be missed. His tactical officer brought up a star map. There are several uninhabited worlds near the battle zone, war leader. No, Gorthak said, studying the display. We need to test it on a real target. A world with cities and shields. Something that will show us how the weapon performs against actual defenses. The science officer pointed to a yellow dot on the edge of the map. What about this human colony? New Busan. It has a population of about 200 million, but the humans are a weak species. Their military won't be able to interfere with our test. Gorthak's forked tongue flicked out as he considered the option. Humans were barely worth noticing. A single system species that had never shown any real military power. They would be perfect test subjects. Excellent choice, he decided. Order the weapon ship to jump to New Busan. Tell them to record everything. I want complete data on the weapon's performance. On New Busan, Colonel Choi Ji-won was enjoying her morning coffee when the first alarms started ringing. She rushed to the command center of the Planetary Defense Force, where her staff was already gathering around the sensor displays. What do we have? She asked. Unknown ship dropping out of hyperspace, reported Lieutenant Park Won-ho. It's big, Colonel. Really big. The main screen showed a Vorthak dreadnought unlike anything in their files. It was twice the size of normal battleships and covered in strange equipment that their sensors couldn't identify. Are they responding to our hails? Choi Ji-won asked. Nothing, ma'am. They're just sitting there. Engineer Han Kyung-soo ran into the command center, his face pale. Colonel, our deep space sensors are picking up massive energy readings from that ship. Whatever they're powering up, it's drawing more energy than our entire planetary grid. Activate the defense grid, Choi Ji-won ordered. Get our fighters in the air. Send an emergency message to Earth Command. The planetary shields came online, creating a shimmering barrier around New Busan. It was strong enough to stop most weapons. But Choi Ji-won had a bad feeling about the energy readings they were detecting. On the Vorthak ship, the weapon officer made his final calculations. Planet Killer is fully charged, war leader. Ready to fire on your command. Fire, Gorthak commanded. The weapon didn't look like much when it launched, just a small projectile moving at incredible speed. But when it hit New Busan's shields, everything changed. The projectile punched through the barrier like it wasn't there and struck the planet's surface. The effect was immediate and horrible. A wave of energy spread out from the impact point, turning everything it touched into glass. Cities, forests, oceans, all of it became smooth, perfect glass in seconds. The planet's atmosphere caught fire and burned away into space. Colonel Choi Ji-won had time to send one final message before the wave reached her command center. "This is New Busan. We are under attack. The planet is lost. Tell Earth that the Vorthak have a planet-killer weapon. Tell them we—" The message cut off as New Busan became a ball of cooling glass floating in space. On Luna Base, Admiral Park So-young received the emergency transmission while she was in a meeting with her senior staff. The recording played once, then the room fell completely silent. "Confirm the report," she said quietly. "Already done, Admiral," replied her intelligence officer. "Long-range sensors show New Busan has been completely destroyed. No life signs remaining. No structures left standing." Admiral Park stood up slowly. Her staff had never seen her look so calm, and that scared them more than shouting would have. "Send a message to Earth Command," she said. "Tell them the Vorthak Empire has committed an act of war against humanity. 200 million civilians are dead." "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked her Chief of Staff. "Activate Protocol 7. Prepare the Eternal Resolve for immediate departure." Across human space, the news spread quickly. Earth's government held emergency sessions. Colony worlds activated their defenses. But there was no panic, no desperate calls for help. Humanity had been preparing for this day longer than any alien species realized. In the deep shipyards hidden in the outer system, massive doors began to open. Ships that had been under construction for decades started their final preparations. The Eternal Resolve, largest of them all, powered up systems that had never been tested in actual combat. Captain Lee Daeho received new orders while still monitoring the alien battle near Kepler Nebula. "Return to base immediately," Admiral Park's message said. "You have a new assignment." Dr. Kim Min-ho looked up from his science station. "Captain, I'm reading some kind of subspace disturbance from the direction of New Busan. It's gone, isn't it?" "Yes," Lee Daeho replied simply. "It's gone." The crew worked in grim silence as they prepared to leave their hiding spot. They had spent years watching aliens fight each other, learning their weaknesses, studying their technology. Now they would use that knowledge. On the Vorthak flagship, War Leader Gorthak reviewed the weapon test data with satisfaction. The planet killer had performed perfectly, turning an entire world into glass in minutes. His scientists were already planning improvements for the next version. War Leader, called his communications officer, were receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're demanding an explanation for the destruction of New Busan. "Tell them it was a weapons test," Gorthak replied with amusement. "The humans were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Should we be concerned about human retaliation?" Gorthak's laughter filled the bridge. "Retaliation? From the humans? They don't even have a proper navy. The most they can do is complain to the Council." He turned back to the battle displays, planning his next move against the Nexari and Keth fleets. The destruction of New Busan was already forgotten, just another successful test of superior Vorthak technology. None of the aliens in the Kepler Nebula noticed when a small observation post suddenly disappeared. They were too busy fighting each other to pay attention to one missing asteroid. They didn't know that humanity's long watch was ending and their judgment was about to begin. In the depths of space, the Eternal Resolve began its journey toward the war zone. Behind it came ships that had been hidden for decades, carrying weapons that no alien species had ever imagined. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity stopped watching and started acting. The battle in the Kepler Nebula had been raging for 6 hours when the first sensor officer noticed something strange. Lieutenant Zexhai of the Nexari Federation stared at her display, trying to understand what she was seeing. "Commander," she called to her superior, "I'm detecting a massive hyperspace signature incoming. Whatever it is, it's huge." Commander Telvanni floated over to examine the readings. "Probably reinforcements for one of the other fleets. Continue monitoring." On the Vorthak flagship, War Leader Gorthak was planning his next attack when his own sensors detected the same disturbance. "Size estimate?" he demanded. "Unknown, War Leader. The signature is too large for our equipment to measure accurately." Gorthak dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. Another fleet jumping in. "Let them come. We have enough firepower to handle any reinforcements." The Keth swarm ships detected the signature too. But their hive-mind communication system was too busy coordinating attacks to pay much attention to one more enemy arrival. Then space tore open, and something emerged that made all three fleets stop fighting. The Eternal Resolve dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the battlefield, and every sensor in the area immediately went crazy trying to measure it. The ship was enormous, not just large but impossibly massive. It dwarfed even the biggest dreadnoughts like a mountain dwarfs a pebble. "By the Crystal Throne," whispered Commander Telvanni as his sensors finally calculated the size. "That ship is over 50 kilometers long." On the human battleship, Captain Lee Daeho stood on a bridge that could have housed an entire city. Around him, his crew worked at stations designed with decades of careful planning. Every system had been built to operate beyond anything the aliens could imagine. "Status report," he said calmly. "All systems operational," replied Chief Engineer Bae Subin. "Gravitic drives stable. Quantum shields at full power. Weapon systems ready." Commander Yu Tae-hyun looked up from his tactical station. "Sir, we have over 3,000 alien ships in the area. They've stopped fighting and are forming up in defensive positions." "Expected?" Lee Daeho nodded. "Lieutenant Nam Hyejin, open a channel to all fleets." "Channel open, Captain." The Eternal Resolve slowly moved into position above the three-way battle. As it approached, something incredible happened. The ship's massive bulk actually blocked out the light from nearby stars, casting a shadow across the battlefield. Space itself seemed to darken around the human vessel. On every alien ship, crews stared in shock at their displays. The human ship wasn't just big, it was impossible. Their technology couldn't build something that large. Their engines couldn't move something that massive. Their weapons couldn't power something so enormous. "This is Captain Lee Daeho of the Human Defense Corps vessel Eternal Resolve," came the transmission. His voice was calm and cold. "You destroyed New Busan. 200 million innocent lives. We have come to collect the debt." War Leader Gorthak felt ice form in his stomach. "The humans, the weak primitive species from one star system, that ship couldn't be human. It had to be a trick." "Human vessel," he transmitted back. "You are interfering in a military operation. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response was silence. Commander Telvanni tried a different approach. "Unknown vessel. The Nexari Federation recognizes no human military authority in this sector." "State your intentions." More silence. The Keth Swarm's collective voice joined the transmissions. "Human ship, you are outnumbered 3,000 to 1. Leave now and we will not harm you." Still no response from the massive ship hanging over them like a dark moon. Captain Shin Dong-hae led his fighter squadron out of the Eternal Resolve's hangar bays. His ships were small compared to the battleship, but each fighter was more advanced than anything the aliens had ever built. "Demon Squadron, maintain formation," he ordered his pilots. "We're just here to observe today." Back on the bridge, Dr. Lim Sua studied the alien formations through her xenobiology equipment. "Captain, they're starting to work together. All three fleets are forming a united front against us." "As expected," Lee Daeho replied. "Tactical Officer John Ming-yu, what's our threat assessment?" John Ming-yu checked his displays. "Approximately 3,000 ships total. Mix of battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and fighters. Combined firepower could level several continents." "Understood. Continue monitoring." On the alien ships, panic was starting to set in. The human vessel just hung there in space, dark and silent, like some ancient predator waiting to strike. Its weapons weren't even powered up, but somehow that made it more terrifying. "War Leader," called the Vorthak tactical officer. "Should we attack? Our planet-killer weapon could destroy that ship." Gorthak stared at the massive human vessel. Something about it felt wrong, like looking at a sleeping dragon. "Not yet. Let the others make the first move." Commander Telvanni was having similar thoughts. "All ships maintain defensive positions. Do not fire unless fired upon." But the Keth Swarm, driven by instinct and fear, began moving their ships into attack formation. Thousands of insectoid vessels swarmed toward the Eternal Resolve like angry hornets. "Captain," reported Commander Yu Tae-hyun, "the Keth are advancing. Looks like they're planning to attack." "Let them come," Lee Daeho said quietly. The Keth ships opened fire first, sending streams of plasma and particle beams toward the human battleship. The alien weapons lit up space with brilliant colors as they struck the Eternal Resolve's shields, and then something impossible happened. The weapons didn't bounce off the shields or get absorbed by them. They simply disappeared. The plasma beams, the particle streams, the missile warheads, all of it vanished the moment it touched the human ship's defenses. Impossible, breathed Commander Telvanni. No shield technology can do that. The Keth kept firing, pouring more and more weapons into their attack. Still nothing happened. The Eternal Resolve hung in space unchanged, unharmed, as if the alien weapons were nothing more than light rain hitting a mountain. "Sir," reported Chief Engineer Bay Subin, "enemy weapons are having zero effect on our quantum barrier system. Should we respond?" Captain Lee Deho watched the alien attacks continue for several more minutes. The three fleets were using their most powerful weapons now, desperate to do some damage to the human ship. "Nothing worked. Enough," he said finally. "Commander Yu, prepare gravitic torpedo. Single target. That Keth command cluster on our starboard side. Gravitic torpedo armed and ready. Captain, fire." The human weapon didn't look like much when it launched, just a small projectile moving at moderate speed. But when it reached the Keth formation, space itself began to bend and twist around it. A localized black hole formed in the center of the alien ships. Gravity went insane, pulling the Keth vessels into a tight ball and crushing them together. Over 200 ships, including 3 heavy cruisers and a command carrier, were compressed into a space smaller than a basketball. Then, just as suddenly, the black hole vanished. The gravitic torpedo shut down its effect, leaving only empty space where a fleet had been moments before. The silence that followed was absolute. 3,000 alien ships hung in space, their crews too shocked to move or speak. The humans had just casually deleted an entire battle group from existence. Captain Lee Deho opened communications again. "That was a demonstration. You have one chance to surrender your fleets and submit to human authority. You have 60 seconds to decide." For the first time in the war, all 3 alien species found themselves in complete agreement. They were no longer fighting each other. They were trying to survive something far beyond their understanding. The 60 seconds passed in complete silence. 3,000 alien ships floated motionless in space, their crews staring at displays that showed empty space where a Keth fleet had existed moments before. No one wanted to be the first to move or speak. War leader Gorthak finally broke the silence. "All fleets, this is a temporary alliance. Focus all firepower on the human vessel. If we work together, we can destroy it." "Agreed," transmitted Commander Telvanni. "Nexari ships will coordinate with Vorthak forces." The Keth swarm's collective voice joined them. "The Hive accepts this alliance. All ships will target the human threat." What happened next was the largest coordinated attack in galactic history. 3 species that had been killing each other for years suddenly worked together with perfect unity. Every weapon, every ship, every piece of military technology they possessed focused on one target. On the Eternal Resolve, Chief Engineer Bay Subin watched her displays as thousands of weapons locked onto their ship. "Captain, they're charging everything they have. Energy readings are off the scale." Captain Lee Deho remained calm. "Tactical Officer John Mingyu, threat assessment?" John Mingyu's fingers flew over his controls. "Combined firepower equivalent to..." "Captain, they could destroy several moons with this attack. Maybe crack a small planet." "Interesting. Dr. Lim Sua, are you recording everything?" The xenobiologist nodded. "All alien tactics and weapons are being analyzed in real time, Captain. This will give us complete data on their military capabilities." "Excellent. Let them fire when ready." The attack began with the Vorthak ships. Hundreds of plasma cannons fired at once, sending streams of superheated gas toward the human battleship. The Nexari followed with their crystal beam weapons, focusing pure energy that could cut through any known material. The Keth added swarms of missiles and particle beams to the assault. The combined attack lit up space like a miniature star. Energy weapons, missiles, plasma streams, and particle beams all converged on the Eternal Resolve in a display of destructive power that could be seen from neighboring star systems. And then, just like before, everything simply vanished. The moment any weapon touched the human ship's defenses, it disappeared completely. Not deflected, not absorbed, not scattered, gone. It was as if the attacks had never existed at all. "Impossible," whispered Commander Telvanni. "No technology in the galaxy can do that." War leader Gorthak slammed his clawed fist on his command chair. "Keep firing. Pour everything into it. Something has to work." The alien fleets kept attacking for 10 minutes straight. They used every weapon type, Every ammunition they had, every technological advantage they could think of, planet killer beams, antimatter warheads, quantum disruptors, nothing made any difference. On the human ship, the crew watched calmly as alien weapons continued to vanish against their quantum barrier system. The technology operated on principles that the attacking species hadn't even discovered yet. "Sir," reported Intelligence Officer Ko Jinwan, "our scanners have now recorded complete technical specifications for every alien weapon system. We have full data on their capabilities, weaknesses, and tactical doctrines." Captain Lee Daeho nodded. "Good. Medical Officer Song Yuna, casualty reports?" "The Keth ships we destroyed had minimal crew aboard, mostly automated systems. Estimated casualties around 500. The other fleets have had no losses yet." "Understood. Navigation Chief An Sung-hwan, position us for optimal psychological impact." The Eternal Resolve began to move through the alien formation. Not fast, not aggressively. Just a slow, steady advance that brought it closer to the panicking fleets. As it moved, the ship's massive bulk continued to block starlight, creating moving shadows that followed it like dark wings. "This is impossible," Gorthak muttered to his science officer. "That ship must have some weakness." "What powers their defenses?" "Unknown, war leader. Our sensors can't penetrate their hull to analyze their technology. It's like they're using physics we don't understand. The Nexari were having similar problems." "Commander," reported Telvanni's science officer, "our best crystal resonance scanners are being completely blocked. Whatever their hull is made of, it's not any material in our databases." Even the Keth hive mind was struggling to comprehend what they were facing. Individual ship commanders sent confused reports back to the collective consciousness. "Target continues to ignore all weapons. Request new attack patterns, but there were no new attack patterns to try. The aliens had used everything." Captain Lee Daeho finally opened communications again. "This is your second warning. You are out of time and out of options. Surrender now, or we will demonstrate why continuing to fight is pointless." "Never," Gorthak roared back. "The Vorthak Empire bows to no one." "The Nexari Federation agrees," added Commander Telvanni. "We will not surrender to a single ship, no matter how large." The Keth response was simpler. "The Hive does not submit to outsiders." "Very well," Lee Daeho replied. "Commander Yu Taehyun, select targets for surgical demonstration. I want minimal casualties but maximum psychological impact." "Understood, Captain." Targeting Vorthak command ship, Nexari flagship, and 3 Keth heavy cruisers. Weapons free. The Eternal Resolve fired 5 different weapons at once, each one using technology that the aliens had never seen before. The first weapon hit the Vorthak flagship with a temporal distortion field that slowed time around the ship to nearly a standstill. Gorthak and his crew found themselves moving in extreme slow motion while the rest of the battle continued around them. The second weapon struck the Nexari flagship with a quantum phase disruptor that shifted the ship partially out of normal space. Commander Telvanni watched in horror as parts of his vessel became transparent and ghostly, unable to interact with anything in the physical universe. The 3 Keth cruisers were hit with gravitational manipulation beams that flipped their local gravity fields. The ships found themselves being pulled in multiple directions at once. Their crews pressed against bulkheads as up and down became meaningless concepts. But the most terrifying part was that all 5 ships were still intact. Their hulls weren't damaged, their crews weren't killed. They were just disabled, helpless. The humans had casually demonstrated that they could do anything they wanted to the alien fleets without even trying hard. "This is a warning," Captain Lee Daeho announced to all ships. "We could have destroyed those vessels completely. We chose not to. The next time you force us to fire, we will not be so merciful." Around the disabled ships, the remaining alien fleets finally understood what they were facing. This wasn't just superior technology. It was technology so advanced that their weapons might as well have been throwing rocks at a starship. War leader Gorthak, moving slowly inside his time-distorted bridge, managed to croak out one word. "How?" The answer came not from Captain Lee Daeho, but from Intelligence Officer Ko Jin-wan as he transmitted detailed files to every alien ship in the area. Technical specifications, fleet positions, government structures, population centers, complete intelligence data on all 3 species. "We have been watching you for decades," Ko Jin-wan's voice explained calmly. "Learning your languages, studying your technology, mapping your territories. We know everything about you. Your military strength, your industrial capacity, your political systems, even the locations of your homeworlds and the names of your leaders' families. The alien crews stared at their screens as file after file of classified information scrolled past. Information that should have been impossible for outsiders to obtain. Military secrets that were supposed to be hidden from their own allies. You see, Ko Jinwan continued, while you were busy fighting each other, we were preparing for the day when we might need to intervene. That day has come. For the first time since the war began, every alien in the 3 fleets felt the same emotion. Absolute, helpless terror. They weren't just outgunned, they were obsolete. The alien fleets hung motionless in space, too terrified to move. Their most powerful weapons had failed completely. Their strongest ships had been disabled like toys. Worst of all, they now knew that humanity had been watching them for decades, learning every secret, every weakness. Captain Lee Dae-ho studied the tactical display showing nearly 3,000 alien vessels. They were no longer trying to fight. Most had powered down their weapons and were just waiting to see what the humans would do next. Sir, reported Intelligence Officer Ko Jinwan, we're receiving surrender requests from several smaller ships. The aliens are starting to panic. Not yet, Lee Dae-ho replied. We need to make sure they understand this isn't just about superior firepower. Commander Yu Tae-hyun, begin systematic disabling of strategic targets. Start with command ships and work down. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. The Eternal Resolve moved through the alien formations like a surgeon, precisely targeting specific ships with weapons that disabled rather than destroyed. Each attack demonstrated a different aspect of human technological superiority. A Vorthak heavy cruiser found its engines shut down by an electromagnetic pulse that somehow didn't affect any other systems. The crew could still breathe, still see, still communicate. They just couldn't move their ship. A Nexari destroyer had its weapons systems turned off by a computer virus that bypassed every security system they possessed. The ship's other functions continued normally, but every gun, every missile launcher, every defensive system simply stopped working. A Keth carrier watched in horror as its fighter squadrons were remotely controlled by human signals, forcing the small ships to land in their own hangar bays against their pilot's will. This is impossible, transmitted one of the Vorthak captains. How are you doing this to us? Medical Officer Song Yuna answered from the Eternal Resolve. Your technology is based on principles we mastered centuries ago. Your computers use quantum processors we designed. Your engines run on fusion reactions we perfected. Your weapons fire energy beams we invented. The revelation hit the alien crews like a physical blow. Everything they thought was advanced technology had been given to them, directly or indirectly, by humanity. The humans hadn't just been watching, they had been guiding galactic development all along. You see, continued Song Yuna, we've been very careful about what technologies we allowed different species to develop. We made sure no one became powerful enough to threaten galactic stability. War leader Gorthok, still trapped in his time-distorted bridge, managed to speak slowly into his communicator. But why hide? Why pretend to be weak? Ambassador Ryu Jae-hyun answered from his position on the Eternal Resolve. Because open rule leads to rebellion. Hidden guidance leads to peace. For 300 years, we have prevented major wars by carefully managing technological development across the galaxy. Then why reveal yourselves now? Asked Commander Telvanni from his partially phased ship. Because, Captain Lee Dae-ho cut in, his voice cold as space. You destroyed New Busan. You killed 200 million innocent civilians to test a weapon. That crossed a line we cannot ignore. The systematic disabling continued. One by one, alien ships found themselves helpless. Not destroyed, not damaged, just unable to fight. The humans were making a point that was impossible to miss. They could do anything they wanted to any ship in the fleet. General Kang Yunji's voice joined the transmission from Earth Command. For decades, we have watched species develop naturally, only interfering when necessary to prevent galactic wars. We allowed minor conflicts, border disputes, even small wars. But genocide? Planet killing? That ends now. Navigation Chief An Seung-hwan positioned the Eternal Resolve at the exact center of the alien formation. From there, the massive human ship could target any vessel in seconds. The message was clear. Nowhere was safe from human reach. Sir, reported Tactical Officer John Ming-yu, All major command ships have been disabled. Remaining vessels are requesting permission to withdraw. Denied, Lee Dae-ho said simply. They stay until we're finished. Dr. Lim Sua activated her xenobiology scanners and began broadcasting detailed analysis of each species' psychology and social structure. The Vorthak Empire is controlled by a military caste that respects only strength. The Nexari Federation is a democratic republic that values logic and reason. The Keth Swarm operates as a collective consciousness that prioritizes survival above all else. As she spoke, data flowed to every ship showing exactly how the humans plan to deal with each species. Detailed political reforms, military limitations, technological restrictions, complete plans for reshaping their civilizations. The Vorthak military will be reduced to defensive forces only, Dr. Lim continued. No more conquest fleets, no more planet-killer weapons. The Nexari will establish new trade agreements that prevent resource conflicts. The Keth will be given uninhabited worlds to expand into, removing the pressure that drives their aggressive expansion. President Moon Hyun-woo's image appeared on every alien ship's main screen. Behind him, Earth's blue surface was visible through the windows of his orbital office. These are not requests or suggestions. These are the new rules of galactic civilization. And if we refuse? Asked a Nexari captain. President Moon's expression didn't change. Look around you. Your fleets are helpless. Your weapons are useless. Your technology came from us in the first place. Refusal is not an option you possess. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Intelligence Officer Ko Jin-wan activated a galaxy-wide transmission that reached every inhabited world, every space station, every ship in explored space. Citizens of the galaxy, his voice announced, you are watching the end of the Kepler War. But this is not the end of human involvement in galactic affairs. It is the beginning. Across thousands of star systems, cloaking fields deactivated simultaneously. Human ships appeared near every major population center, every military base, every seat of government. Not just a few ships, entire fleets that had been hidden for decades. The alien crews in the Kepler Nebula watched their home systems appear on the display screens, each one now showing human vessels in orbit. Ships that made even their largest dreadnoughts look like small fighters. For 3 centuries, Ko Jin-wan continued, we have maintained secret bases throughout the galaxy. We have monitoring stations in every system, agents in every government, observers in every military force. Nothing happens in this galaxy without our knowledge. Commander Telvanni stared at the display showing his homeworld. 3 human battleships hung in orbit around the Nexari capital, their weapons trained on the planet's surface. How long? He whispered. How long have you been there? Since before your species developed spaceflight, came the answer. We were here when you launched your first satellites. We were watching when you discovered faster-than-light travel. We have been guiding your development for generations. The Keth hive mind sent out confused signals as human ships appeared throughout their territory. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of installations, all suddenly under human oversight. War leader Gorthak finally understood the full scope of what they were facing. This wasn't just one advanced ship. This was a galactic empire that had been invisible until now. You control everything. We protect everything, corrected Captain Lee Dae-ho. There is a difference. We have no interest in ruling other species directly. We prefer that you govern yourselves, but we will not allow genocide, planet-killing, or wars that threaten galactic stability. The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleets to contemplate their new reality. The war was over. Not because they had been defeated in battle, but because they had discovered they were fighting in someone else's universe. Humanity had revealed itself as the galaxy's hidden guardians, and there was no going back.